Now here comes the big fun. It's for you, sir. Ask a question.
Thank you, ZK. Senator, nice to have you there. And I look forward to the day when we'll address you as governor.
Thank you.
Okay. My question is related to energy.
Yes.
As a background, I'm a small business person involved in hotels and daycare and learning centers. And I've also been involved in energy development. And unfortunately, I had to go overseas, to an overseas market, because I felt that the opportunities were greater there, the incentives were greater, less by way of licensing and permitting and other issues, and upfront tariffs and so on and so forth. Now, my interest is currently towards the development of renewable energy. The perception that the Republican Party has is that the Republicans have been leaning towards or tilting towards pushing the agenda of the big oil companies, especially fossil fuel versus renewable energy. Now, if you were the governor, what would the governor's energy office do to encourage the development of renewable energy, especially keeping in mind small business people who want to enter this field?
Thanks for the question. Energy policy is an important one in this governor's race and important across the American landscape. If you look at the major strategic challenges that face the United States over a generation or two, I think our education system, certainly the war on terror, the threat of this sort of global stability, these questions of law and order, war and peace are major issues that continue to front us. Energy is certainly in that same category. America cannot be prosperous and great and strong over the long term unless we deal with our energy situation in a meaningful way and become less dependent on foreign sources of energy, especially from countries who don't like us very much. And so from that is where the premise, or that is where the conversation starts. And for me, it means that we need to pursue an energy policy, whether it's at the state level or national level, of all of the above. We need every energy source we can get in this country. And again, and this is a good example of both political parties having it wrong. Republicans, as I think you point out, are perceived as being unconcerned or uninterested in renewable energy, and that they focus exclusively on traditional fossil fuels. Republicans, I've said this in a couple of contexts before, maybe we said it to this group a couple of months ago, say renewable energy is important, but, and then we spend the next 15 minutes saying why groups and others, we put places like Anwar off limits. I think for the same reasons we should promote aggressive policies that incentivize wind and solar in Colorado, the federal government should allow us to produce the Arctic National Wildlife Refuge because we need more energy. So boiling down to specifics in the state legislature, that's been my philosophy, and that's how I've voted. That's how I've led. I've actually partnered with this governor. You probably know the concept of net metering folks to do their own renewable production and get it onto the grid and have sort of cost subsidies because of it. That was a bill that actually was sort of stuck in the mud because of the fight between Republicans and Democrats. I worked with the governor to broker a compromise to get it through. So I believe in renewable energy, yes. Where this governor has been wrong, though, is in setting aside traditional forms of energy. He's pushed a policy that's resulted in the closure of 2 coal power plants. His oil and gas restrictions are the most restrictive in the nation, and the list goes on and on. So if I'm governor, I'll push all of the above. This governor has pushed renewables at the expense of everything else.
Thank you. Dr. Mohammed Zubair.
Hi, Senator. I'm Dr. Zubair. I've been involved in medicine for 35 years, and I've seen the health insurance industry taking more and more control of our lives over the last 35 years. And Republicans are considered to be tilting, maybe just like Habib said, in energy cases, more toward the health insurance companies than they are toward an average person. The context of my question is that an individual, when he gets an insurance, or a small businessman, they have to come up with large amount of premiums, but they're not done yet. They still have to pay co-payments, deductibles, large amount of money. That forms a major portion of somebody's annual budget before health insurance even kicks in and pays you anything. This is a huge burden on the individual. What will you do to help the industry? I think it is broken. What will you do? Health insurance companies put a check or a control or some sort of limits on them So an average person can still have an open health, wherever he wants to go, and still have the expenses that are covered.
Thank you. This is the issue that's on everybody's mind these days, is healthcare, because of the debate that's going on in Washington. Let me touch on that first. I believe that the current system has many imperfections, and that we should focus on addressing those imperfections. The healthcare crisis, or whatever you want to call it, is a crisis of cost. Having said that, anyone who believes that government takeover of an industry or an area and with the goal of making it more efficient, less costly, doesn't pay attention to how government does business. Government rarely makes things more efficient. I think there's strong evidence in other countries and even states that have dabbled with government-run healthcare that it won't become more efficient, it will become less efficient, and ultimately will require higher taxes, it will require government to force to make choices about who gets what procedures, the R-word rationing. Those are the upshots of government takeover or a substantial additional government intervention in healthcare, and I don't support that. But the initial point is an important one too. The current system is broken for many people. And I think part of what you do in leadership is you call balls and strikes. And in the legislature, I've done that. I think you're commenting about the perception that Republicans are too tied with the industry. Fair or not, it's the perception. And I've tried to be a person who says, look, if there are legitimate problems with the industry, let's address them. One example of that, there was an issue, a complicated issue, but you have a doctor, you have a hospital through your HMO that's in network. There was an increasing number of patients who, you get in a car accident, you go to an out of network hospital, the reimbursement rates are a lot higher because you're not within that HMO's network hospital. Well, when the insurance company refused to pay those bills, essentially what would happen is the hospital would send the balance of those tort reform protections to deal with junk lawsuits and the threat of junk lawsuits. We need to continue to do that. We need to make sure that I support allowing, authorizing these multi-state insurance agreements. If an insurance product is sold in Texas, it's available to consumers in Texas, and I live in Colorado, but that product serves my needs, I should be able to buy that. That allows economies of scale and reduction in cost. So those are just a few examples, but the way I see healthcare reform, we need to promote policies that reduce the cost of health insurance. Giving the government control of health insurance won't achieve that. These more targeted strategic reforms are the types of things that I do believe we need to do. If I support something in the insurance industry, doesn't like it, I think is that one case points to, I call them like I see them and try to do the right thing. But the insurance industry isn't, as some on the other side would argue, evil. There are a lot of good people in the insurance industry too who want to do the right thing as well. So I think the goal is just to find a thoughtful balance between protecting consumer interests and making sure you have health insurance products that are affordable for the American people.
Thank you, Senator. The next person who's going to ask a question is Mr. Ijaz Qureshi.
I have a question, like the state of California have a law. Any food you prepare and, labeled as a halal, which is equivalent to Jewish kosher. What is the chances we can have a same law here? We have a huge Muslim community here.
So one of the things that I've learned in politics is when you don't know, say I don't know. So I don't know the answer to your question. I will tell you generally I tread lightly. I think I trust consumers. So to the extent that there are issues with the products you're buying, I think that the best way to engage that is for consumers to engage the people that they shop with. So my first reaction isn't always to pass a law to mandate some additional requirement on the side of business. Having said that, I know. I don't know enough about the issue, would be happy to visit with